AMC stock is up almost 5% today. The S&P up over 1%, and the Nasdaq is up 1.27%. Russell 2000 up the most, up 1.42%. Now, we had some very, very bullish news today coming out of China as well as retail sales, and we're going to get into both of those. But at the same time, we have Fed Jerome Powell that speaks at about 2 p.m. today. I was wrong. It was not 10 a.m. It's 2 p.m. and that could get very interesting. We also had Fed Bullard that spoke earlier today that was surprisingly dovish, and that could be a big reason why the markets are substantially positive today. And we're going to get into all of the nitty-gritty details that you guys need to know involving all of these situations. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. If you guys want to come trade with me live in real time, link down below in the pinned comment. But most importantly, get yourself those free stocks, because that is the single best thing you can do right now. Buy the dip with some free money via those free stocks with Webull, Moomoo, and Public down below in the description. Nonetheless, let's get into all of this information. Let's first off start with retail sales. And it says retail spending increased 0.9% in April, boosted by demand and inflation. Retail sales rose 0.9% in April, just below the 1% estimate, according to numbers that are not adjusted for inflation. April's gains were powered by a 4% gain from miscellaneous retail and 2.1% jump in online sales. A separate report showed that industrial production rose 1.1% in April, well above the 0.5% estimate. So why is this so good? Well, one, it shows that people are spending money. So the odds of a recession most certainly drop after you get good retail sales. So that's a positive. But even bigger than that, you have Fed Bullard's comments, and you have this news coming out of China. And it says Shanghai to end COVID lockdown and return to normal life in June amid economic slowdown, because they have had now 3 days in a row without any new COVID cases. And that's kind of China's policy, right? But why is this such a big deal coupled with retail sales that were positive? Well, China, the lockdown, it affects us a lot in the terms of, or in the form of, inflation, right? COVID being on lockdown puts everything, it just makes everything weird. So and it adds to a lot of inflation. And Fed Jerome Powell, most importantly, he acknowledged that the last Fed meeting and literally said that China is a big risk factor given their COVID lockdowns. That's what Fed Jerome Powell said. So if they end these lockdowns by June and life goes back to normal, or somewhat whatever normal is in China, then that's going to be a very bullish thing for our economy, as well as getting inflation down. That could lead to the Fed not raising as aggressively. So those two things mixed together is a very big deal. Now, at the same time, you could also say this argument that China's retail sales were bad, their economy is bad, so if you want to put some money to work, it makes sense putting that money to work in America, where it looks like people are spending money. So that's really, I think, the biggest things that had an effect on the markets today. You also did have Fed Bullard that spoke somewhat dovishly today compared to what he usually says. Fed Bullard said that the Fed has a good course of action to get inflation down with these 50 basis point rate hikes. And he said they want to do it in the most transparent way possible, that they know there will be market volatility, but they don't want to disrupt the markets as much as they have to, right? Basically saying if we can do this without crashing the markets, that's what we are going to try to do. And obviously there's big emphasis on try. That's what he said. But nonetheless, that's a positive thing coming from a Fed member that is typically the most hawkish Fed member we have. Now, in comparison, the markets really care about what Powell says. Like Bullard, he's definitely like the second most important Fed member because he is so hawkish. But Fed Jerome Powell, he's the top guy. He's the dude with the money printer, right? He matters. the most. At 2 p.m. he will come out. I cannot forecast what he will say by then, if it will be dovish or hawkish, but I will say if it's in line with what we have heard already, right? Balance sheet reduction by September, 95 billion, starting with like 40 billion June 1st. If that's in line with what we kind of expect already, if that's what he says, then I think the markets might actually be very bullish off of Fed Jerome Powell. If he comes out and says something new that we have not heard before or something we have not expected, then hey, the markets might sell off a bit, and that's just the market that we are currently in. Now, AMC stock is actually up almost 6% for the day, and I think this is what we are going to see. There's a lot of people talking about AMC stock, GameStop, yet again today, and I think it comes down to the executive order, just because the timing on this and what we have seen in the past for AMC stock has been a very big deal, and I think it will be an even bigger deal this time around because liquidity is so much more constrained comparatively to January 2021 or June of 2021. But Executive Order 14032 is going to be a big deal for AMC stock. As we know, last time, May 27th was when it got implemented. Last time around, we peaked out June 2nd, but what happened before May 27th, you did start to see a stair step into May 27th, and then once we hit the 27th, we had a 35.5% positive day, a 22% positive day, and then a 94 or a 95% positive day, and that's when we ran to $72. Last time this was implemented was back here during the January rally, and we peaked out both times the day the executive order was actually removed. So the day that essentially hedge funds could use Chinese collateral for their margin calls, the stock went down the next day. The stock peaked out that same day. So I think you're going to see kind of a ramp up into this executive order actually being implemented. And then I think it's very logical in my personal opinion to expect something along the same lines as what we seen last time, given the extreme timing coincidence, call it that we've seen the last two times around. So if you guys have not seen my video on this, go check it out. It's pretty much titled MOAS coming in June if history repeats itself. Go ahead, watch that video. We go over everything, the specific dates, what happened on those dates, price action, all of that. But long story short, I do think you will see a lot of bullish activity heading into really, June 2nd, June 3rd, when this executive order does get implemented. And then I do expect to see a pretty parabolic rally, especially, like I said, given where the credit situation is now. There's a lot less money to potentially service a margin call now than there was a year ago. There's actually 11 trillion less dollars in the stock market today than there was back then. That's how much money that we have lost, $11 trillion out of a total stock market value of about $46 trillion to start this year off. So substantial declines across the board. I think that is going to mean a substantial gain for AMC stock. Now let's talk about the Ortex data. Let's go over the Stonko tracker data, and then we will go ahead and wrap up this video. So as far as the option flow sentiment, I actually have BBIG pulled up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the option activity. First things first, you could see 12 orders totaling $3.4 million, positive order value of 75% for the day. Lots of call activity coming in. I think that is what is really helping to boost the stock up almost 6% today. Couple that with people that are selling out of puts, and I think you are seeing a lot of market maker activity on the stock today that is definitely driving it to the upside. You could see 75% positive order value is a very substantial amount on an any day basis. Now for the short interest, you're still seeing much more, or many more I should say, borrowed shares per day than return shares, currently sitting at about 3.5 million borrowed shares, 701.2 thousand return shares. A net gain of shares that are sold short for the day so far at 2.79 million. Short interest of free float is sitting at 21.81%, almost 22%. Current shares that are sold short of 112.43 million. Cost of bar max is sitting at 4.41. Days to cover is at 3.13. So any data point you really want to look at here is more bullish now than what we have seen in over a year for AMC and the prospects of a short squeeze, right? The situation's more bullish now than it was January 2021. It's more bullish now than June 2021. And I think this executive order could be quite substantial for AMC stock. And I definitely want to trade based off of that theory, at least put a little bit of money down to capture potentially this major rally. Keep in mind, a little bit can go a long way in this market environment. And its premiums are messed up. If you guys trade this market, man, it's brutal out there when the markets can be up and then down and then up and then down, but not really move at all in one direction or the other. It's pretty terrible for trading and options premiums overall. Now let's take a look at the stock O tracker data. Go ahead and give this a quick refresher. And you're looking at about 21,000 calls that are in the money. That is 11,000 more that are now in the money today comparatively to yesterday. So that's about 1.1 million shares that I could say for certain the market makers would have to go out and buy for the day. At the same time, the in the money calls yesterday was at 99,000. So that's a decrease of about 6,000 contracts. That's about, what is that, 60,000 shares, 600,000 shares, I believe 600,000 that the market makers had to go out and buy for today alone. So there's a lot of fuel on the fire as far as calls that are out of the money, as well as puts that are in the money that could potentially be massive forms of buying power if the price of the stock does continue to the upside. So that is pretty much going to be all for this video. Overall, if you can't tell, I am very bullish on AMC stock, and at this point, fuck the haters. If you don't believe in the trade, if you haven't watched these videos over the past 6 months and you know that, hey, we are in the right direction, this is exactly what I have been talking about for the last 6 months, well, you know, you can't help those people. They will be the ones that FOMO in, and that's all fine. And you should feel very assured of that there will be a lot of FOMO buyers that sold out of AMC stock previously that start to head back in when the stock does make parabolic moves, probably here in the next couple of weeks or so. It's going to be very interesting, to say the least. I was going to say intense, but this girl... I said that and she said intense. I'm like, intense. Intense. I can't get it out of my head. I had to share it with you guys. So that's going to be all for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Come join the trading community if you guys want to be up on all of these trades as soon as we make them, and get your free stocks down below in the description. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.